feel like grace. These monsters wear a human face. No gavel, no badge, no throne, no crown can stop Lord Chippy from burning them down. Justice ain't fast, justice ain't clean. It's a long, sharp road through the in-between. So raise your fists and light your flames. Chippy's coming and he don't play games.
Oh, this heifer, this remarkable mecha thunder cow, hatchet face herself, had to talk to her oldest son because he was going to CrimeCon. How narcissistic can you be? Lori, no one cares. Well, I mean, I do because I want to roast the hell out of you, but no one is motivated by goodness to hear the sound of your voice. We kind of use it for spite motivation. My new self-help book, How to Use Spite to Energize Your World. Child unaliver Lori Vallow sent a cryptic message from prison to her only surviving son during CrimeCon. Now, Lori Vallow, the Idaho woman convicted in the red room of two of her children and conspiring to murder several others as part of what she claimed was a grand religious prophecy, sent a message to her only surviving child. Colby Ryan, an adult, appeared at a panel at CrimeCon at 2025 in Denver on Friday, September the 5th. Now, the panel was hosted by journalist Nate Eaton, and during the conversation, Eaton said that Vallow had found out about the panel and sent him a message to share with her son. "If you talk to Colby, please tell him that I love him very much, no matter what," Lori said in her message read by Eaton per a clip he shared on X and Instagram. Ew. She continued, "Ask him about the Bible verse, Matthew 25. Eaton said he looked up the verse and told the audience that it was a reference to the parable of the wheat and the tares, parable of the 10 virgins, I believe. Any idea what the scripture reference means? He asked Ryan. Ryan completely was kind of befuddled, but replied that the message was simply an attempt for his mother to appear godly or spiritual or scriptural. She's trying to talk about the wicked and good being sifted apart, basically. So it's her way of trying to say that she's still good, basically godly, Ryan explained. Which, if anyone's going to be able to translate, crazy Lori into human, it's going to be Colby. It's her trying to talk about the... Eaton then asked Ryan if he had a desire to talk to his mother again, to which he said no. In 2023, Vallow was convicted of the 2019 murders of her two children, 6-year-old Joshua Jackson, or JJ Vallow, and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan. She was sentenced to life in prison, and then her husband, Chad Daybell, was also convicted of murder in relation to their deaths. Now, at one point, Vallow allegedly told a friend that both Tylee and JJ were zombies, and she and Daybell were on a mission to eradicate zombies before the second coming of Jesus. So we all know this stuff. Again, the incredible manipulation that she continues to try to perpetrate in her surviving victims' lives is just ridiculous. This isn't about her anymore. It's about the victims of her crimes getting peace, getting justice, and getting whatever closure they can get on earth, because nothing is ever going to heal these wounds completely. But if she could just crawl into a hole and be quiet, that would be awesome. This story, I have not even delved into this, but this looks like it's going to be an incredibly interesting case. A creepy California serial killer allegedly wore a white face mask during a prior burglary spree to hide his identity as, being African American. Which, I mean, this is forward thinking. An alleged serial killer who met his victims on dating apps before savagely robbing them and taking their lives had a lengthy California crime history that included wearing a face mask to hide his identity, according to authorities. Now, prosecutors charged 34-year-old Rakeem Perel on Monday for robbing and killing two men he met on dating apps in 2021 and 2023. He allegedly also attacked and a victim in February of this year, tying him up, beating him with a baseball bat, and stealing his wallet. Okay, but serial implies three with a cooling off period and a distinct signature. So are there more that we don't know about? Now, Prowl of Inglewood is already on probation for 2 burglary convictions between 2019 and 2021, but police say he was linked to as many as 30 break-ins across Los Angeles. Now, the criminal attempted to avoid detection during the spree by sporting a creepy rubber mask that made him look like a young white person, according to security footage reported by Fox 11. Cops found the mask after pulling Prowl over in a car linked to the crimes. Now, it's unclear whether Prowl wore the mask during his alleged seductions and robberies when he murdered 51-year-old Miguel Angel King and 53-year-old Robert Gutierrez in 2021 and 2023, respectively, before fleeing the scene in their cars. Now, King was found dumped in the Angeles National Forest with a fatal bullet wound. Authorities never located Gutierrez's body, but the car that he owned was discovered in Prowl's garage. The creep allegedly tied up and tortured the man, Jordan Andrews. He was the third man in February of this year, beating him with a baseball bat. Now, Andrews managed to escape, but Prowl rammed him with a car as the victim tried to flee away, breaking his leg. Imagine the terror and horror that these victims felt, being duped into believing they were meeting for one reason, only to face violence, LA District Attorney Nathaniel Hochman said in a release. Prowl now faces 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder, plus carjacking, burglary, assault with a deadly weapon, and he is being held on a $2 million bail. I don't foresee him receiving bail, especially with a history of escalating violence, but it's California. Well, be nice to your bartender, especially when he has Manson lamps. A bartender at a club that's called Grumpy's allegedly stabbed a patron 10 times in the head and back in a fight over the bar tab. Art imitating life? I don't know. A grumpy Florida bartender was arrested after allegedly stabbing a patron nearly a dozen times in the head and back while making rude comments about the victim's mother, all over a bar tab. Not your mama jokes, too. Is there no dignity? Cops responded to Grumpy's underground bar in Orlando last Sunday after Jason Wilfredo Rosario, 30, allegedly knifed a patron 10 times in his back, neck, and, well, head, basically, all over his head, over a bar tab that was taken outside, according to an arrest affidavit obtained by the Post. Now, the victim told police that the argument began in the bar where Rosario charged him for drinks that had not been served. Now, though a bar manager tried to iron out the situation, Rosario allegedly began berating the victim and told him, "You can suck my, well, peen," several times. The face-tatted bartender then made an offensive comment about the victim's dead mother. Okay, it's even worse if she's passed away and you know that. Rosario walked away from the customer, but eventually returned to him and asked if they could take the altercation outside. Once they were outside, the two continued to verbally fight. Rosario said something about the victim's mother sucking potty appendages. Then the victim punched Rosario and he fell into the ground. They began fighting before Rosario allegedly pulled out a knife and started slashing and stabbing at the victim in the back. The incident occurred so quickly that the man didn't realize he was being stabbed. After the assault, Rosario declared, "I got him," and the victims told the cops. The police were flagged to the scene by a woman who realized that, this man was bleeding profusely. and said that there had been a stabbing or an altercation. Now, the victim was taken to the hospital and his current condition is not known, though officers noted in an affidavit that he did not die of the wounds. While officers were investigating the incident, the bar owner told cops that Saucy stabbed someone and it's not okay. She later identified Rosario as the suspect, whom she knew as the nickname Huck or Jock Hip Hop, and described him as a hothead. Now, Rosario was positively identified by the victim in a lineup. Authorities obtained an arrest warrant for him and cuffed him on Friday on attempted second-degree murder charges. He is being held in Orange County Jail and without bond. This guy looks like the Truman Show guy, but this is why I profile everyone in Walmart, allegedly in Minecraft. Manipulative and charismatic, the killer known for befriending others has been arrested for a 67-year-old's death inside a townhome after the body was discovered inside. A manipulative and charismatic homeless man in Arizona known for befriending others has been arrested for taking the life, allegedly, of a 67-year-old man inside his Scottsdale's townhome. Matthew Deringer, 35, is accused of killing Frank Quaranta, who lived in a residence off of 68th Street, in what cops are calling a targeted attack that was uncovered Monday during a welfare check after Frank failed to show up for work. Now, Matthew is a Colorado native who was convicted in 2020 of beating and dismembering his roommate's 2 dogs. Why the hell is he out? Why is he out of prison? Why is he not on Snake Island? He received credit for 705 days being served after being given an 18-month prison sentence before relocating to Arizona. He has a history of homelessness and has been described as manipulative and charismatic, often befriending others to assist him with a place to stay, SPD officials said in a Friday press release, while searching for Matthew, who was arrested on Saturday. Now, if he's seen, use caution and don't approach. Call 911 immediately. Police say that Frank was killed last Monday, September the 1st, inside his home. It is unclear how he and, Matthew met. A welfare call came into Scottsdale PD around 1:30 p.m. on September the 1st when the victim didn't report to work. Responding officers were unable to contact the victim by any other way and forced entry inside the residence to check on Frank. Tragically, Frank was found deceased inside. Detectives and crime scene specialists spent the next several hours processing the home for evidence. Now, court records show that Frank has had multiple run-ins with the law in both Arizona and Colorado, with a recent guilty plea being entered for theft in April and assault charges stemming from a June 2024 incident. He also has prior arrests for criminal mischief and burglary. Now, in 2020, he unalived and dismembered 2 dogs belonging to a roommate of his in Teller County, Colorado, with cops entering their residence to find the walls just covered in evidence and blood, multiple holes, just awful, according to local affiliate KRDO. The scene we went into was difficult, Trixie Hudspeth, Teller County Sheriff's Office Animal Control Officer, said in a statement to the outlet. Now, according to KRDO, neighbors reported hearing yelling and seeing Matthew in an enraged mental state on the night before authorities arrived at the home. He later pled guilty to felony aggravated animal cruelty, and he was being held without bond over the weekend for Frank's death. So this sounds incredibly scary, especially if he is manipulative and able to get into vulnerable, kind people's homes. Hopefully they can, if they can find all the evidence they need to build a very strong case. And in bravery beyond measure, a brave victim hands out tissues during his mother's tearful testimony of the horrors he faced as a gross, disgusting human dumpster piece of trash, human PDF, file principal is sentenced for child grossness. A courageous young boy took it upon himself to comfort the audience brought to tears by his mother's testimony of the horrors he faced at the hands of his school principal during the creep's sentencing on a laundry list of child grossness charges. David Preston George, 41, finally received his long-awaited punishment on Monday after he pled guilty to transportation of a minor from North Dakota to South Dakota with plans to engage in abuse with a child under the age of 12 in October 2022. Now, George had ample access to would-be victims as the former principal of Independence Elementary School in Fargo, North Dakota. The disgraced educator also admitted to possessing and distributing child grossness material, including 224 images and 378 videos of disgusting content that law enforcement found on his devices. At least one photo of a not clothed child was taken by the perpetrator himself and included in the just pile of disgusting. North Dakota U.S. District Court Judge Peter Welt was appalled by George's depravity and almost reluctant to hand down only a 40-year sentence, which was part of a binding plea deal signed by the prosecutors and George's defense team. What can I say what I can say is that life would be sufficient. According to the outlet, that is what he said. Now, one of the young victims and his family appeared at the final hearing to speak against George and finally give him a piece of their mind. The young boy took the stand and said he stayed silent out of fear that George would hurt him or hurt his loved ones. I lost my childhood and my innocence because of David's grossness, the boy said. His mother also delivered a speech so impassioned that it brought many members of the audience to tears. The selfless boy started shuffling around the gallery, handing out tissues to those in need. Nobody budged, though, when George started crying during the tail end of his sentencing. I hurt the ones I love the most. Douche canoe of grossness lamented as he rambled on about how his actions cost him everything. The victim's mother was not having any of his crocodile tears. Even though the court gives you a sentence, it's nothing compared to the life sentence you gave my kids, the mother said coldly. George frequently tried to pivot blame off himself during the lengthy case, pointing the finger at anyone from his own neighbors to his own children. Now, by the time George is finally released, he will be in his late 70s. Yeah, Bon voyage, douchebag, drop the soap. Like, Gen Pop justice cannot come allegedly quickly enough. But there we go, Lord Chippy, because, why not? Well, I've never seen that.